Good morning. I'll be talking today about how COVID-19 has impacted on demography and the work that we do as demographers. The impact of COVID-19 on population is significant, and this means that previous population projections no longer hold. And this has implications on how budgets are designed, how policies are formulated, and how services and other activities are also delivered. Now, the reason why previous population projections are no longer valid is due to how the pandemic has impacted on various components of population change. And one component is natural births, and this comprises of births and deaths. And in times of crisis, we do anticipate births to decline. Lockdowns don't mean more babies, and certainly the fertility rate has been projected to decrease in the next couple of years. On the flip side, we have been quite fortunate to avoid the mortality rates that we've seen in other countries like the United States and the UK. Another component of population change is migration. Internal and international borders being closed has impacted and will continue to impact on Australia's population size, both nationally and across states and territories now and going into the future. So how has the current pandemic impacted on the Northern Territory? In March 2020, the NT's population stood at just over 245,000 people. Now, in the year leading up to that, our growth rate was at negative 0.2%, the lowest in the country. And Victoria had a growth rate of 1.8%, the highest. So it will be really interesting as more data is made available in the next 6 months to see how these growth rates will be impacted by the pandemic. In addition, the most recent regional internal migration estimates from the ABS showed a few interesting things. Firstly, the trend of population loss in the territory continued. However, we did notice that fewer people are leaving. So from June 2019 to June 2020, we saw that we had a lower net loss of people. Now, I would have cautioned, 2 data points don't make a trend. So we have to monitor how this pattern plays out as we have more data released by the ABS in the next 6 months. So there is a lot riding on when a safe and effective vaccine will be made available. The unknowns with this makes it really hard for demographers to do our work. And one way we can get around this issue is to try and understand and measure how sentiments can change in times like this. So at the Northern Institute, we try to tap into these sentiments through the Territory Me survey last year, and currently a COVID update version of that survey. So one of the questions we asked in both surveys was the intention of people to still live in the NT after 2 years. Now, responses to the survey last year in blue showed that intentions to remain was lowest for those in the early career life stage at just under 60%, gradually increasing, and highest for retirees at over 80%. Now, the COVID update survey that's still going in orange shows a dramatic increase. Intentions to remain in the NT are pretty much at the same levels across all 4 life stages. So I think there's a couple of things here. This shows how we can maybe start to consider the ways and how policy can perhaps intervene and harness these shifting intentions, particularly for those in the early life stages, but also the usefulness of sentiment survey monitors like ours in times like this. Are there also some silver linings in our international student market? With borders closed, many students stuck overseas. I think the NT has fared quite well. Only 5% of our international student population is stuck overseas, the lowest across the country. And I think there are some unique characteristics that the NT has. Although our share of the international student sector is the smallest, the diversity in terms of where they come from is emerging as a strength in this pandemic. And I think this can perhaps fit into how the Territory can attract students going to the future. So future planning and policy will demand creativity as much as data. How we form new understandings as we see and discover new strengths and positives. Previous assumptions that we use for modelling, trend projections, planning and risk management will need to be redefined and recreated in the economic recovery process.